and welcome to July's Book Nook. My name is Jordan Bartlett, and I'm author of Contest of Queens, Queen's Catacombs, and Queendom Come. And I am joined today by the wonderful, the lovely Zoe Allison. Welcome, Zoe.
Hi there, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. So today we're going to be talking about Zoe's book, The Wedding Engagement, which I just want to point out this coup. Look at this cute little Highland coup. So, as you can imagine, it is set in Scotland. And Zoe is the author of The Wedding Engagement, as we mentioned, and The Xmas Holiday. So, our theme of the day is yearning and slow burning. First things first, Zoe, please tell me a little bit about yourself and about your novel, The Wedding Engagement.
Hello, so my name is Zoe Allison. I'm a romance author and also a doctor, randomly. Originally from Yorkshire in England, but I've lived in Scotland for the past 27 years since I came up here to go to medical school. And I live here with my husband and two children. And the wedding engagement, I'm one of these authors that's really rubbish at describing what their own books are about, and even more rubbish when you have to do it in a succinct manner. But I think one of the first kind of pitches I came up for the wedding engagement was planning a wedding is so romantic, except when it's not yours and you're planning it with the guy you've been secretly in love with for years.
It's so true. I think it's a common across the board. No author actually knows how to describe their book. I think that should be a different job we can give to somebody else.
Definitely.
That was perfect. And so we've got our two main love interests. We've got Liv and Aaron, and they're both secretly in love with one another, but there's a lot tearing them apart, which is what we live for. So there are two romantic leads. They have every reason to be together and many factors keeping them apart, but there's a lot of misinterpretations, doubt, emotional baggage, or just plain bad timing. There was an ex-girlfriend showing up in underwear at one point, so we've got a lot to contend with. So you tease our leading lad and lass with a prospective happily ever after masterfully. How do you keep and maintain that will they, won't they tension?
Yeah, I think it can be quite a delicate balance. And I think in this story it helps that the main characters are already really close friends because then it naturally makes for closeness, intimacy. And then with that line being walked very close to tipping over from friendly affection to romantic affection. So then you naturally get a lot of moments along the way where platonic love edges over into something else. So I think that helped that there was already kind of affection and intimacy in a platonic manner, and then every now and again it tips over into something else until finally it tumbles properly into something else. Um, and yeah, that the ex-girlfriend in the underwear scene, that was one of the scenes that was inspired by the movie The Wedding Singer. So that there's a few little inspirations from that movie in the book.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. When that happened, I was like, no, no. Oh, it definitely had, was it Julia Gulia practicing her name
Yeah.
with the Adam Sandler's character and he's watching her like, oh, she seems so happy with him. Ah.
Yeah, and then the scene where Julia kind of turns up at his house to gift him the paper that she's made for him, the musical sheet paper, and his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, answers the door in his band t-shirt and a tiny pair of knickers.
And messy hair that is very
Yes,
implied.
yes, you can see the inspiration for the similar scene in my book.
Oh, I love that. And it really is. We were talking before the camera started rolling, but the best thing that you can do to write within your genre is to love the genre. And there's so many little love letters, even to like Jane Austen style romance, to, as you mentioned, The Wedding Singer. You've got such a wide range of like if you're into this genre, you're going to be picking up on that. Like, oh, cute, she did this. Oh, cute. Or it's just going to be like, oh, I didn't even think that that was going to be a connection to The Wedding Singer, but now I want to go watch The Wedding Singer.
Yeah, yeah. I think that those things always tend to kind of bleed into the writing, don't they? The things that we love, the things that we love to read, things that we love to watch, and it's quite nice because it adds more character, and especially then if it's resonating with people and they think, oh yes, I love Austen as well, and I like the wedding singer.
Yes, definitely. And I love too what you were saying before about how you've got these two platonic
Mhm.
friends, platonics,
Yeah.
and they then start to spill into romantic connections. But I also think that that platonic connection is part of what keeps them holding back because a
Mm.
couple of times the characters will say, well, I am falling for her or I am falling for him, but I don't want to ruin our friendship because that matters more.
Mhm.
Or the other character will do something and it's like, oh, I mean, yes, that's a huge, lovely romantic gesture, but he's also just a friend doing what friends would do. So that was kind of
Mhm.
cool to see, like, oh no, no, that's supposed to be a connecting moment, and you've just like then kissed her on the forehead and left.
Yeah, I think that adds a bit of realism, doesn't it? Where, um, especially, and also shows that they are genuinely close as friends and do genuinely have that affection for one another. That's so important to them. They don't want to lose that. It's also tied into the other areas of their lives in terms of they're from the same friendship group, and she has a close relationship with his son. She's going to be becoming his nursery school teacher.
Mhm.
So yes, and then I think naturally each one would be, "Oh, well, I don't want to be the one to say something and spoil it, and then what if I lose them? How's it going to affect everything else?" So it just kind of adds that dimension to it, which creates a bit more tension.
Yes, yeah. And nobody wants to be awkward. So there's a lot
No.
of like, let's just keep everything lovely and nice.
Yeah, I think that fear of being awkward is a big thing in real life, isn't it? When people are wanting to take romantic leaps, you don't want to be making a fool of yourself.
Definitely. And they make it seem so easy in the movies, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, you don't want to be that person who's got the boom box and then the woman in
Oh,
the window is like, please, no.
no, turn it off. Don't
Yeah,
want it.
just sadly take your boom box and go. So both characters are yearning for one another, basically from page one, which we love to see because then there's no question. It's like, okay, we know where these two are at. It does take a lot of work for them to finally get together. So what advice would you give to aspiring authors who want to make sure their readers are satisfyingly frustrated by that will they, won't they tension rather than just frustrated?
I think, yeah, that's another really difficult one because it's so subjective. Personally, I love reading slow burn romance because I find that I really get invested and get to know the couple, and you're kind of really desperately wishing for them to get together. So then by the time that they do get together and become intimate, I'm fully drawn in, fully invested, and I really, really care. And I don't really get that so much if there isn't a slow burn. So writing that theme suits me, but we're all different, and others, love a more instant intimacy when they're reading, and neither's wrong. So I think you have to go with your heart, and then if it is going to be a slower path, um, creating lots of tension along the way, and those little moments where there are little bits of flashes of intimacy and yearning help. So I always think of it as little treats along the way. So a bit like Mr. Darcy's finger flecks in the 2005 Pride and Prejudice, and we were all like, "Oh, that's amazing!" It was just a little flex of the fingers, and that was it. And everybody was like, "I'm losing my mind." And then also, I think when they do then get together, we have to have a really satisfying emotional payoff, whether it's open or closed door. That bit has to be really satisfying for the reader.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think you're so right with it's like breadcrumbs of like, don't worry, there's gonna be a candy house at the end of this trail, but just keeping that little almost prodding them together because I love too that there were some moments where you're thinking, oh, that's going to bring them together for sure. I'm thinking specifically of when they both get set up on the blind date, and it's like very early on. So this isn't really a spoiler for the plot for anyone. But when they both get set up on the blind date together and they've been texting, not knowing who the other one is, they're basically soulmates. And then she shows up looking like a bombshell because she's usually in her nursery school teacher outfits or her karate outfits. And is it karate or taekwondo?
Karate, yeah.
Karate,
Mhm,
yeah.
yeah.
And so she shows up looking beautiful in a little black dress, and his reaction is to go, "Oh, fuck." And you're thinking, yes, she's gonna be so flattered that he's like flabbergasted at her beauty. And meanwhile, she's like, oh, he's so disappointed. It's me. Oh, my heart broke for them both in
Yeah.
that moment.
I think that was another one of those. So that was kind of the epiphany for Aaron, where I think it finally hits him over the head with a sledgehammer that, okay, I don't just want to be friends. But by this point, they've known each other for years, and he was engaged to somebody else, and then his ex ended the relationship a couple of weeks before the wedding. Something else that was kind of inspired by the wedding singer, except he wasn't dumped at the altar like Adam Sandler was in couple of weeks grace. So that was a long-term relationship, and obviously, kind of Liv has been in his life the whole time because she's his best friend's twin sister. But then, yeah, that things have started to evolve, but he's kind of been distracted by his feelings of hurt about losing his relationship and his ex-fiance. So then, yeah, that that date is a bit of a okay. But then she misinterprets it because obviously she's not aware that he's starting to see her in that manner because he's the sort of person who is a little bit of an insufferable flirt and is
Mhm.
friendly with everyone, and then it's hard to interpret what's behind that. So, yes, so that was a kind of, oh, is something going to happen? Oh no, there's been a misunderstanding.
And it was so lovely too because by that point she'd almost just um resigned herself to the fact that she just loved him but
Mhm,
wasn't going to do anything. And so
mhm.
she was kind of happy in her agony, whereas he was just starting to feel the agony. So you kind of got to see that flip into her, like, well, it's never going to happen. And meanwhile, he's like, will it, won't it, will it, won't it? And then she starts doing that.
And then it's just waiting for those two roller coasters to actually be on the same track.
Yes,
That's the
because it's always more fun on a roller coaster with someone.
yeah, exactly.
And you say you have our two main leads, so we've got Liv and Aaron, and then you've got a lot of lovely little side characters, two of whom have been pulled from your first novel, the Xmas Holiday. And there's a lot of really distinct voices who are kind of giving their 2 cents of advice, but also living their own lives as these two are trying to find their way to one another. Who is your favorite side character to write?
I think yeah, a difficult one because there's kind of six people kind of in their friendship group, and two of those were the main characters in the first book, and then there's another two characters. Um, but I think probably Aaron's son Jace, because he's adorable. In fact, the 5-year-old is going to be, and then does start in Liv's nursery class along the way. But they're already really close because she kind of babysits for him, and everybody in their friendship group is close with Jace. And Jace fancies himself as a brave dragon fighting knight. So that was lots of fun to kind of write these scenes where he's kind of fighting imaginary dragons and hunting for dragons and calls himself Sir Jace or Lord Jace. So he was lots of fun to write.
Oh, I'm so glad you said Jace. The original version of this question was, who was your favorite side character to write, and why was it Jace?
You know me so well.
But he's such a ball of energy, and it's just nice because it's not that he's like a comedic side character where he's cracking jokes, but he just brightens a lot of sometimes heavy moments by coming in and saying he doesn't want to eat his broccoli. And it also like allows you to explore Liv's um kind of maternal nurturing and imaginative creative side because she builds that beautiful fort, which I want in real life. It sounded like it because it had a drawbridge and all of that.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
very authentic. They had a fake moat and fairy lights, and yeah, it's really cool thought.
So it's lovely because you have this one character where, on the one hand, it's drawing all of these positive qualities to light about our leading lady. But then we also get to see Aaron, who, for a lot of his internal monologue, is thirsty for Liv. We get to see Aaron as also this gentle, caring, responsible guy. So this one little character who comes in singing his nursery rhymes has so much impact on how we view our two leads, which is very cool.
Yeah, yeah. It shows kind of more dimensions to each of the lead characters and also more dimensions to their relationship with each other because Jace really draws them together. He is one of the reasons where Aaron's a bit obviously nervous about taking things further with Liv because he thinks, well, I don't want, if anything goes sour, I don't want to ruin their relationship, and she's going to be his nursery teacher. But he does naturally bring them together when they're spending time, the three of them, like a little family of three.
Yeah. Yeah, it made me think of that moment in The Holiday where uh Cameron Diaz's character and Jude Law's character are lying in the little tent with the two girls looking up at the stars.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it is definitely that sort of vibe. I really love that scene as well. I like that movie. So yes, that's definitely a good analogy.
So lovely. And then because the romance genre is often viewed as one of the more formulaic genres, where the reader really is expecting a few key things to happen. So we need to have the meet cute, we need to have like an almost moment, we need to have something that really tears them apart, and then that dark night of the moon or whatever that big crisis is going to be. So I really love that with this novel, you have obviously you have the beats that we're expecting, but you have a nice either twist or like a surprised inversion, or you've just kind of added your own flavoring to them. What was your favorite beat to write, and how do you make it feel fresh and exciting for a reader who is going to be expecting it?
Um, I, there are lots of things that are my favorite, and again, I think that stems from a love of reading the genre because I love reading romance in lots of different forms, and I love all of the tropes and the beats, and but I think probably my favorite to write. For this book and probably other books as well is the first kiss because I enjoy making it a slightly different experience with each book. So obviously each couple is different, and they have a different backstory and a different relationships. Some of them have been friends to start with, some of them have been enemies. Um, and it's a scene that really creates a feel good serotonin boost. And for me, that's what reading and writing romance is all about, is putting out good vibes into the world because there's far too much sadness and cruelty in real life. So we need a bit of comfort and we need a bit of escapism. Um, and I think when it comes to adding your own flavor or twist on those beats, I think it's something unintentional, to be honest. 'Cause I think each of us just has our unique voice that we just kind of add to it. And, for some people, it might be kind of heart-wrenching and really intense. And then for others, it's kind of light-hearted and funny or a mixture of the two. So I think each romance author has their own voice attached to it, and then that can make it fresh. And yeah, there's so many amazing romance authors out there. I wish I could just spend all of my time instead of working, reading all of their books as well as writing.
Oh, definitely. And it really is the case where to be a good writer, you must be a good reader because you can like you can have a lot of life experiences that you throw into your novels, but stepping into the shoes of other characters the way you do as a reader, it really just broadens all of the possibilities that you can add. And then when you have these beats that you're thinking, okay, I want to make sure I've got those main ones for my genre, you also have a lot of you almost have an army behind you saying, well, this is what it could be, this is what it could be, this is what it could be. And you can, like you say, really make it your own. Like I love, there was
Mhm.
a really lovely damsel in distress moment that you made feel empowering as
Mhm.
the woman. Like that's often the piece where it's like, oh man, we had to be saved again. And I get that it's romantic and there's a lot of romance in those, like, oh yes, he can look after me. But to have both that feeling of he's there to look after me, he's got my back, and you've also given her, and I don't want to say the exact moment because I don't want to
Mhm.
spoil that, but you've given her the power. It was so cool to read. I just remember thinking like, yes, and it made sense for her character because she does do karate. It was just wonderful. So,
Oh,
um,
thank you.
yeah, you've really woven a lovely new take on, tale as old as time.
Yeah, I think that's very kind of you to say, and I think that is something that is a bit of a kind of inspiration and theme for me in my romances. I think people will spot the feminist themes that run through the scenes like that, where it's not that the heroine needs their hero to rescue her, but she needs him there or wants him there for emotional support, and that's the bit, and they support each other. So it's very much a partnership, and the women are as capable and powerful as the men, but the men are as emotionally intelligent as the women, which is in the case of, most romances. But so that scene is one example. And then I think in this book, I suppose that another example of a trope that I love, but I wanted to kind of make sure it was done a certain way, was the brother's best friend trope, which is one I really enjoy reading. But I wanted just to be careful. Because it's sometimes when I read that trope, I feel as though it can stray a little bit into kind of toxic male attitudes towards women
Yeah.
and women's sexuality, and the brother's like, oh, doesn't want his sister to
Be
um
happy.
yeah, it's just yeah. I wanted that to be not a barrier. I think they're obviously aware that, oh well, if things go wrong, he'll be affected, and his fiance, Liv's best friend, would be affected, Maya. Um, but that there isn't any kind of animosity that Sam would absolutely love the two of them to get together because he loves them both and thinks the world of them both and knows that they would treat each other well. And if that isn't the case, you have to start thinking, well, why would the brother not want his sister to be with the hero? Why are you friends with him if you think he's toxic? So, yeah, those sorts of themes, I suppose, are another way that the beats and the tropes of the book have maybe got a little bit of my flavor to them.
Oh, yeah, I love that. And it was nice too that almost the hesitation wasn't on the brother's side, but it was on the best friend's side because
Yes.
of the respect that he had for that
Mhm.
brother-sister relationship and all of that. Ironically, though, the brother married Liv's best friend in the first novel.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. So it would be a double standard if he didn't,
yeah.
if he tried to get in the way. And I made that apparent as well, that, well, I've married your best friend, so I
Yeah.
don't mind at all if you want to get together with my bestie.
Just makes date night way more fun if it's a double
Yeah,
date.
exactly.
And so you've mentioned a few of the inspiration from other sources that you kind of fed into parts of your novel. Is there something that you included that you really geek out over that maybe we wouldn't notice upon first reading?
So I think probably the main one that springs to mind is that Liv and Aaron are both Doctor Who geeks. And I have watched every episode of Doctor Who since the Noughties reboot with Christopher Eccleston, and I've enjoyed all of the Doctors, but David Tennant has a special place in my heart, and I think that does show in the book.
Well, because he's the best one,
Yeah.
obviously. Oh, I love that that was something that they both had that drew them together, and yet it was such like a fan mentality of, oh, my brother's best friend is a Whovian, and then this random person that I'm talking to online is also a Whovian, but everybody's a Whovian, so I'm not gonna put two and two together that they might be the same person.
I know yeah, you could tell that's yeah, a fandom that I am part of. Like, surely everybody, and surely everybody knows he's the best doctor.
Well, it's a big deal in my heart, so it must be a big deal in society's heart. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And then, so your TikTok presence is hilarious. And if you haven't seen Zoe's TikToks, they're so funny and they're such a love letter to romance as a genre, to writing, to being an author in a world where it feels like you have to also be a marketing team, a editing team, like this, that, and the other. And you do a fantastic job of lovingly poking fun at some of the romance themes and tropes that we all adore. So, what have you found helpful when building a TikTok platform to promote your book, but also to promote the love of books?
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I think I have to admit that when I started on TikTok and social media in general, I had no sense of direction whatsoever, no idea what I was doing. Um, but for me, social media is an area where I like to use my sense of humor. So I really just went with that and kind of combined sense of humor with my love of reading and writing romance. And I just posted things that I thought were kind of funny book jokes and that would make people laugh. And I've found that that has been a really lovely way to connect with fellow book lovers, readers and writers in that way, that that shared sense of humor and shared love of romance in particular has led to building a really nice community and platform. But I have to say it wasn't really very strategic. It was just me going, oh, this will be fun. This will make people laugh. Yay.
But I think that's probably the key because more and more I just see people searching for authenticity, and that's probably what's shining through is you are just authentically you. And that's so funny.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I think yeah, it is authentically me, and then that makes me a bit embarrassed if anyone I know in real life sees it because they're probably like, what is she doing? But I'm like, well, the book people get it.
Having fun. Yeah, it's that whole if you see me in public, no, you didn't type thing, or if you see my online presence, no, you didn't. Do you have any projects coming up next?
So I was counting the other day, like how many books I've got written that are just sitting there. I've got a few things I've written that are kind of shelved at the moment, so including book three in this Glenabbey series, and also a time slip rom-com where the heroine has a panic attack on an old underground street in Edinburgh called Mary King's Close, and she accidentally brings a Victorian Scotsman into the present day. A bit random. But the book that I finished most recently and is probably coming next is a standalone Christmas rom-com. So a bit like The Xmas Holidays was a Christmas rom-com, but not it's not related to that one. And it's about two neighbours who live across the street from one another in a town in the Highlands, and they hate each other. But both are absolutely intent on winning the town Christmas lights competition, and so they try to outdo one another, and it degenerates into sabotage.
Oh, I am so excited for this already. So if we wanted to make sure we don't miss it, where can we find you and where can we find these updates online?
So, the places that I'm most active are TikTok and Instagram. I'm pretty sure I'm just Zoe Allison author on both of those. I'm on other social media a bit, Facebook, Blue Sky, and Threads, and I do have a website as well. But usually social media is where I'm most active and keeping everybody updated on there.
Wonderful. And when you said the Christmas light competition, I had that image from the live action Grinch movie where Martha May has that light cannon and she's outdoing the Cindy mother. Thank you so, so much for this lovely chat. I've been dying to pick your brain about this book, and anyone who is listening or watching who hasn't read it, it's such a treat. It's a wonderful summer read as well because you've got the love, you've got the Highlands, you've just got the magic. Thank you, listeners and viewers, for joining our chat. If you liked what you heard, please take a minute to rate and follow this podcast or share it with a like-minded friend. I put out new episodes once a month with no set date. So following and subscribing is the only way you won't miss it. I wish I could be more consistent, but here we are. However you wound up here, I hope you are doing well and living magically.